Hey, this is Ken Finnen at Capital Advantage Tutoring. It's my job to get you past this Series 6 exam. So I'm here trying to do this, I take another exam here. People have been bugging me for a real long time. Well, I loved it. I just didn't have time because I'm teaching so much, right? So I'm doing a Series 6 now. So I'm doing a Series 6 final from SDC. They told me I can do it all I want. So I'm putting it on here so you can see how I process questions. I haven't seen the questions before, and we'll go from there, okay? So that's where we are. Here's the best way to do this. When you see a question pop up, hit pause. Try to answer it yourself and then listen to how I do it. Now, remember, I did it where you can see the answers right away, so you don't have to wait to the end to see if you're right or wrong. Boom, you'll see right away. We go from there. Remember, this is not, it'll help you with the exam. It's going to show you how I process. And here's the thing. I'm a dumbass. I'm not dumb, but one thing I'm good at is taking tests because I don't overthink it. So I want to be a savage, right? That's the goal. When you take a test, you want to be a savage. Just go shit out. No, don't vacillate. Don't go back and see, I didn't go back and change any answers before I hit submit because they process it. Yeah, I also got the answers right away. So it's a little cheat, but I don't really go back and change answers ever. Not saying you shouldn't do it, but I'm not a fan of that. So anyway, hope you like this. I'll put it out right before my live on Thursday night. Roll right into my live if you want. If not, go to bed. Thank you very much for joining, and let's get going. Okay, so here we are. We're into the STC thing, Series 6 top-off final. I'm going to show explanation because I always like that because then we get to learn and I get to find out if I'm wrong right away. You don't want to do all of them that way, but you definitely want to do some exams so you get immediate feedback. This is why I worked with somebody like, God, 15 years ago. May he rest in peace. He didn't make it. He always said, why should you take answers right away? Because think about it. If your dog pees on the tree, you don't wait for him to do it 3 or 4 times to punish him. You do it right away so they learn. We have negative reinforcement, I guess, right? So you want to know right away whether you're right or wrong. Okay. So let's get into this. Start exam. Here we go. A client has moved to another state. The most important reason to update the client's personal profile is, again, a client has moved to another state. The most important reason to update the client's personal profile is the mail must be forwarded to correct address. Well, that's a true statement. A different tax rate may apply. That's a reason. The client's investment is supposed to be in the new state legal list. That's not actually a thing anymore. Both the registered rep and the firm must be registered in the new state to continue. Well, that's true, right? The customer doesn't have to be registered, but the rep and the firm, you can't do business with a client unless you're registered in the state. So I'm going to go with D for my answer. Final answer. Boom. Love it. There we go. Okay. What is the statute of limitations on arbitration claims? Is it 1, 2, 5, 6? That's a great question. So let's think about this. Okay, what is the statute of limitations on arbitration claims? Let's see. So 1, 2, 5, 6. Okay, well, for other things, it's shorter, but arbitration is always going to be 6 years. Remember that arbitration is 6 years. Just get that stuck in there. Remember, that's not if you did something wrong. It's that if we disagree. Arbitration is for if we disagree. Code of procedures when you fuck up. Think COP, code of procedure, cops come after you when you screw up. Good. Okay. 2 right. We are on a roll. Baby, we're at 100%. When making a recommendation of a high-risk mutual fund to a customer, which of the following customer details is least important? Okay. Financial status, tax status, investment objectives, ability to sustain a large loss. Let's think about that for a second. Okay, you may see a lot of breaks in this only because I am a coughing fit. I'm near dead. Although I went to the doctor, they gave me 15 years to live. And my dog, Teddy, barks like crazy sometimes. When a fucking leaf falls 50 yards from the house, he barks. So you might see some breaks. I'll try to keep it as little as possible. When making a recommendation of a high-risk mutual fund to a customer, which is the least importance? Well, you got to know financial, where they can handle risk. Tax status is true. The objectives, what do they want? But ability to sustain a large loss, that's not why you recommend something to them. I mean, that doesn't make sense. That is not one of the things. Can you handle a big loss? That's like, it just doesn't even make sense, okay? That's not one of the answers, okay? Because FINRA doesn't go, make sure they can handle a large loss. Well, why? You should be focusing on, yes, we have to handle risk, but you sort of should be focusing on what they can do. You have to give the risks, but a large loss just doesn't make sense. Boom. 3-0. Okay, which of the following statements about interest on a U.S. government bond is not true? Not true. So what's not true? Interest subject to federal? That's true. Interest is exempt from state? That's true. Interest is exempt from local. This was somebody asked on Facebook the other day. When they talk about state and local, I combine them. I go federal, state, local. It's like one thing. That's kind of why I do that. And then interest is exempt from all taxation. That is not true because everything pays taxes except for nothing. Okay. More breaks. So again, let me do this again. If you buy a U.S. government bond, you're going to pay federal but not state. So I tell everyone, there are basically only two things that don't pay tax on every level: munis and treasuries. Okay. Treasuries pay federal, not state. Munis pay state, not federal. So always think the entities tax themselves. That should help you. Makes it an easy question. A client is heavily invested in exchange-listed securities and decides to liquidate the investment to purchase shares of an S&P 500 index fund. In so doing, the investor is protected against. Okay. Well, you can't do. So C and D are the same thing. Market risk and systematic risk, same fucking thing. They haven't gotten rid of. I mean, they could have gotten rid of liquidity risk, but whenever you see on this test, if you see exchange listed, throw liquidity out the window. So the answer has to be business risk because you're reducing business or non-systematic risk. Better be the answer. Boom, 5-0. We're on a roll. A fund which invests in companies that pay high dividends is, okay, high dividends, definitely not a growth. Maybe sector, if it's that kind of sector. A no-load fund, it's just a mutual fund, which doesn't mean that it has high dividends. It just means it doesn't have a sales charge. So I got to think in my world that it'd be equity income fund, because basically it's an equity fund that pays income, right? So they're all about dividends. That has got to be the answer. And we're there. I love it. A mutual fund wholesaler has given an register rep a piece of pre-approved sales literature. What course of action on the part of the RR is acceptable? Filing with FINRA and having it pre-approved by a principal prior to distribution. Okay. Filing with the SEC and having it approved by a principal prior to distribution. No, that's not shit. Having it approved by a principal prior to distribution. Sending it out since it's already been vetted through the fund's compliance officers, policies, and procedures. If I die from coughing like I'm doing, you might actually get to see me. Well, it's not live, but I'll make sure my family, if I die while doing this, I'll make sure my family sends it out to have entertainment. So here's the deal. It's already being pre-approved. So you don't have to do anything else. It should be this. Sending it out already because you send it out because it's already been pre-approved. Boom. You don't have to keep doing that shit. Okay. Which of the following is false, which is not true regarding the suitability of investments? There cannot be an excessive number of suitable transactions. Remember, the double negatives, I love this. There cannot be an excessive number of suitable transactions executed for a client. A suitable investment may result in losses. An unsuitable recommendation may result in gains. And an unsuitable investment may be purchased in a client's account. So B is true. C is true. So we really got to think about this. What are they actually asking, right? So, which is false. So let's start. First of all, B and C are true. It's either between A and D. So D, an unsuitable transaction may be purchased in a client's account. D, that's true. So, and you think, wait a second, I can't do suitability. But what if the client calls you, right? If the client calls you and says, hey, I want to buy International Buggy Whip, right? You know, at $90 a share. You have to do it, okay? You can try to talk them out of it, but in the end of the day, you have to do it. So that's D. The reason A is a tricky question. There cannot be an excessive number of suitable transactions executed by a client, okay, for a client. Yeah, so you think they're suitable. What if you do too many suitable? Then as a string of transactions, that would be churning maybe if it's excessive, okay? Like just go, oh, buy this, buy that, buy that. They're all suitable, but they're not suitable for, I guess they still wouldn't be suitable. But the point is, if they're suitable for you, but a string of them packaged together as a whole may not be. So let's go with A for this just to have this. Okay, good. And look, I'm sort of right. Because sometimes you have to think outside the box a little bit. And that's the problem. I'm always outside the box. It's hard to think inside the box, which makes me weird. Okay. I mean, let's think about this. I'm spending a nice Wednesday morning doing a Series 6 final. Why would I do that? That's crazy. Okay. A client has a margin account in which there is activity each month. The client's firm will send her an account statement. Now, here's where I have a problem with this, okay? The reason I have a problem with this, here's why. And I know what the answer is, so I'm going to pick their answer. But there's actually no FINRA rule where it has to be sent monthly. It's just best practices. Broker-dealers, what they do is if it's active, they will send it monthly. This blew my mind. My entire life, I thought you had to. And then I looked up in the FINRA thing and I can't find it. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm saying that there is no rule that it has to be sent monthly. It's quarterly is a minimum, but every broker in the world says, oh, if you have activity, we're going to do it monthly. So I'm going to send that. And that's what they do. So the question is, they will send it, right? So they're not saying the rules say. So they're specifically saying, if there's activity, you will send a monthly statement. And that's true. Every broker-dealer does it, but they don't have to. They don't have to do quarterly. So I'm going to go with that. There you go. I'm probably right, but there we go. Good. Which of the following statements is true regarding a defined contribution plan? It is designed to provide employees with a fixed monthly payout at retirement. No. The employer bears all the investment risk. No fucking way. Employees can deduct all employers' contributions, okay? And each employee has a separate account within the plan. That's interesting. So I'm between C and D, absolutely. So let me explain why I'm saying this. So the reason I know where it is, but think C, it's like the way it's worded, because you don't pay taxes on employer contributions, but you're not actually deducting it. So basically, if you have a defined contribution, you're going to have your own account. It's going to be a Ken Finnen, or a Mary, or a Sophie, or a Bobby. They're going to have their own account in the plan. That's the deal. So that's what's going to be the case. And remember, defined contribution, you know what's going in, but you don't know what it's going to be at the end. Defined benefit, you don't know what's going in now, but you know what you're getting. So defined benefit would have been A. Okay. The fund that would probably have the least price volatility is, well, international equity outside the country, volatile. Growth fund, volatile. Long-term muni bond, okay, so it's between C and D. It's obviously a bond fund, right? So the question is, what do I say about volatility? Long and low, baby. So long-term bonds are going to be more volatile than short-term. So it's got to be the short-term. They're pretty standard. Boom. Love it. Okay. According to FINRA rules, an email complaint does not constitute an official complaint and does not need to be retained. No, that's fucking bullshit. Must be maintained for 4 years. Sounds good. Must be maintained for 6 years, unless it's MSRB is 6 years. Okay, so we throw that out, though. Must be maintained for the life. No, it's maintained for 4 years. Boom. Okay. I love that. Okay, good. So it should be 4 years. MSRB is 6. FINRA is 4. Watch, I'm wrong. Okay, there we go. Non-public personal information regarding a client may be given to a non-affiliated third party. You mean just give out their private information at any time? No fucking way. After providing the client with a privacy notice, just because you give them the notice, well, we'll come back to that. After providing the client with a privacy notice and the client does not opt out of the disclosing. That's interesting. And after a principal approves. Now, they're not going to do that every time. So look, B and C are both right, but C is better because it says does not opt out. And remember, the privacy notice, you give them the information, you say who we're going to give your information to, they can opt out. But remember, the rule is it has to be simple. It can't be a complicated, write us an email, write us a standard letter on a snail mail and mail it to us, or jump through hoops. It has to be very easy, like an email or click a link. So the answer to opt out of it. So they say, I don't want you sharing my information. So that's the answer. Remember, you're not opting out of the privacy. So I was so rudely interrupted by Teddy barking. Non-public personal information regarding a client can be given to a non-affiliated third party. The answer is C with the privacy, if they have a privacy notice and they opt out of it. What I'm saying is that when they opt out of it, they're opting out of you releasing their information. They're not opting out of the privacy part. Okay, that should be the answer. Boom. If a registered rep sends an instant message to more than 25 clients, is supervisory approval required? Okay, so more than 25 means it's retail. 25 or less means it's correspondence. Okay, yes, because the communication is considered retail communications. Additionally, it must be filed with appropriate SRO. No, and a record is not required. No, that doesn't make sense. Not under any circumstances. Yes, if it promotes a product or service of a member firm. Right, that should be the answer. If I'm wrong, it's going to be A. But A is usually that's only if it's a mutual fund or investment company advertising, and it's either 10 days before or 10 days after, or the first year of business for a broker-dealer. Other than that, you don't have to file shit with the SRO with advertising. So yes, if it promotes a product or service. If you're just sending it out saying, hey, we changed our logo or we moved our office from the second floor to the third floor, you do not need to get it pre-approved. It's still retail, but it's one or two things that don't need pre-approval. Boom, there we are. Okay. An individual is in the process of opening a cash account with a broker-dealer. The agent requests information regarding the individual's employment, which the individual refuses to disclose. As a result, why don't you want to do this? What do you work for, a drug pen or a mafia? The account cannot be opened without information on the individual's employer. Nah. The individual must provide written notification that the employer information is not required. No. The broker-dealer must notify FINRA of the refusal. No. The account can be opened. Perfect. That should be the answer. Boom. Better be the answer. Yeah, you just remember all you really need is name, address, and are they 18? Anything more than that, we try to get, but you can always open an account even if that's all you get. Good. You're supposed to make every reasonable effort to get the social security number and the employer and all that stuff. The day of settlement for corporate security is, okay, I just did a video on this. Day of settlement for corporate security is always T+2. There's only two things that are T+1. Options and treasuries. So we got to go two business days after the trade date. T+2, it's business days, not calendar days. Boom. A breakpoint sale may have occurred if an RR recommends that a client diversify between different funds within the same family. No, I think you're okay. In the same family, they honor that. An RR recommends that a client diversify between different fund families. Maybe. An RR recommends that a client not invest all of her money into a fund immediately, but rather dollar cost averaging over the 12 months. No, that's okay. Dollar cost averaging is a great way to go into a mutual fund. And RR recommends the same fund in a client's IRA and individual. No, that's fine. So here's the deal. So it's going to be B, because if you put somebody in different fund families, like a T Rowe versus a Fidelity, they're not going to honor. T Rowe is not going to honor what you put in Fidelity, so they're not going to give you a discount based on that. So the breakpoints, remember, breakpoints are good, breakpoint sales are bad. Breakpoint sales are when you put someone in just below breakpoint, so you can charge them a higher sales charge. So that's what this is happening here. Boom. When a broker-dealer sells a security to a client and charges a commission on the transaction, it is acting as a client's, okay. So remember, ABC, agent, broker, commission, PDM, principal, dealer markup. So since it's acting as a commission, it has to be an agent. There it is. Boom. There we go. Which of the following securities is not guaranteed by the U.S. government? Treasury notes and treasury bills, absolutely. Ginnie Mae, G for government, Ginnie Mae is. F, federal. Fannie Mae are not guaranteed. They're implicitly, obviously with the crash we had in 2008, they did cover it, but they're not guaranteed by the U.S. government. Bills, notes, bonds, tips, strips are, and Ginnie Mae's, G for government, remember that. Okay. A person with an existing brokerage account is hired by another broker-dealer. The person must notify his employer of this outside account it's usually within a reasonable time, but I do think it's 30 days. So if you start with a firm and you have a broker, say you started with JP Morgan and you have an account at TD. Well, you have it already. So you just have to, you have to get permission and all that before you open an account. But since it's already open, you are going to have to tell your broker dealer pretty damn soon right away. And I'm pretty sure the date's 30 days. I'm not a day person. So it could be 60 for all I know, but I'm going to bet on that it's 30 days. There it is. So it's reasonable time, but within 30 days. So you start work tomorrow, you basically have 30 days to disclose you have an account. And they can go, no, we're not okay with that. Which of the following indexes or averages considered the best indicator of how large U.S. stocks are performing on a daily basis? Okay. So Wilshire is everything. Dow Jones is the biggest companies. S&P is pretty big companies, a major market index. So here's the thing on this. Wilshire, Dow Jones is the biggest 30 companies. So it's not a lot of them, okay? S&P, it's like the top 500 companies kind of thing. So I'm going to lean toward that. The major market index is big. Wilshire is really big. It covers everything large and small. So we're going to go with S&P 500. I could easily see it being Dow Jones, only because they're the biggest 30 company, not the biggest, but the big ass fucking industrial companies. So, but I'm going to stick with S&P. There we go. Awesome. Okay. Investors may receive disclosure and secondary market information concerning munis. Okay. So let's go through this. So OATS is and actually OATS they're getting rid of. It's called the CAT system now. How funny. Capital Advantage Tutoring, CAT. Yeah, there you go. Now, OATS is for tracking equities and all that stuff. That's tracking that. Okay. That's track the order from when you get it. The issuer is not going to tell you information. Trace is for corporate bonds and treasuries, so that doesn't work. Emma, good old Emma. Emma is for the munis. Double M for munis. There we go. Love it. Okay. An individual owns a variable life insurance policy that has built a significant amount of cash value. Good for him. Due to the stock market appreciation. Which of the following statements is true concerning a loan against the cash value? Loans against the cash value are not permitted. An interest-free loan, nobody does so for interest-free bonds. I'll be wrong. Of a portion of the cash value is permitted. A variable rate loan of a portion of the cash is permitted. A fixed rate loan of the portion of the cash is permitted. So I'm going to lean toward D. I'm leaning toward D because they're not going to say it's interest free. Definitely not. You can take cash value loans. Remember, insurance policy, not annuity, insurance. And variable rate, there's no requirement that it's variable. So it's going to be a fixed rate loan. That's kind of the deal. You can take out a loan and you pay a fixed interest rate. An aggressive growth portfolio would be suitable for an investor with low tolerance. No. Large amount of capital must be fairly liquid. No, again, remember, growth is aggressive, so it may not be that liquid because you could have big swings. Not a good thing. You may have to dump out when it's low. Whose only investment experience lies with fixed annuities? No, because they're not super into the market. Who is financially secure, has a high income level, and high tolerance for risk. That's literally handing you the answer to you here. It's not low risk. It's not just because they have money and they need it, because that would be money markets. And if you only deal with fixed annuities, they don't understand the market, so they can't tend the risk. So we're going to say D as in David. Okay. Which of the following is not required when opening an account for a partnership? Which of the following is not required when opening an account for a partnership? Each partner's address, each partner's citizenship, each partner's discretionary approval, and each partner's tax identification. I'm shitty with this partnership. But let's see. Do we need the address? I guess we would need the address for everyone. We need to know if they're U.S. citizens or not, because there's tax things. Do we need the discretionary approval? I'm torn on this. I'm going to say they don't need the discretionary approval. It easily could be D, because that's what they was tricked you that way. But I'm going to go with C for this and see what happens. Boom. Okay, got it right. We're almost halfway there, folks. A type of offering in which the issuing corporation is assured of receiving the full amount of the offering, and anything unsold is retained by the underwriter. So again, a type of offering when the issuing company is assured of receiving the full amount, and anything unsold is retained by the underwriter, which means you're guaranteeing the sale. It's not best efforts, it's not all or none, and it's not contingency. Contingency is like, hey, we meet a certain thing and it goes. It's got to be firm commitment. Firm commitment means I'm guaranteeing you do it, and any bond I don't sell, I'm buying from you, so you have it. Good. Okay. Got to go with that one. I love it. If a firm that's distributing institutional communications to a specific institutional customer becomes aware of the customer distributing those communications to retail customers, the firm they have to, because the whole thing is, once you think it's going to retail, you got to change the whole game a little bit. You don't remember, because retail has to be pre-approved. Correspondence and institutional just gets reviewed. So if you think retail people are getting it, you really got to go into the retail space on this one. If you think that the firm that you're giving your institutional research is giving it to retail people, you don't know it, but you think it is, then you have to start treating anything you send to them as retail, because you can't assume that, oh, don't worry, they won't do it anymore. No, once they start giving it to retail, or you think they will, boom, then you go, you got to start treating everything new as retail communication. Because if retail people are getting it, it needs to be fucking pre-approved. Okay. Back half now, baby. A broker-dealer must notify a new customer that is required to verify their identity. It's promptly within a reasonable amount of time. So remember, it's not getting the information. Getting the information you have to do when you open the account. But to verify, you have to do within a reasonable period. Watch, it's going to be before the first trade. But it shouldn't be. It's within a reasonable time, usually around 30 days. And see that? That's crazy. Okay. And how am I wrong on this one? I was so sure on this one because I'm torn. I am so torn on this, okay? Because I know that the verification, I have a problem with this, okay? I mean, I'll look it up and see if I'm wrong. But my thing is, they have to get the information, but you have time to verify. You have this. I guess what I'm thinking is you send the information to them and then they verify that it's true. Maybe that's where I'm confusing the two, but I guess so. I'm torn on this. There's my wrong one. For a competitive offering of muni bonds, which document notifies potential bidders of the general features of the offering? Okay, so there's an official statement which goes out. Okay, first of all, munis, no prospectus. There's not that. Legal opinion is what the lawyer tells you, whether it's legal to issue and whether it's what the tax status is and stuff like that. Oh, the legality parts. Okay, that's not even a word. So it's either official statement or notice of sale. Okay. So when we go to issue it, we put out a notice of sale in the bond buyer, that magazine, to to let everyone know that there's an issue going on and that we wanted to bid on. It's got to be notice of sale. The official statement is like the disclosure doc that you send to all the customers. Boom. Love it. A 67-year-old man owns 3,250 accumulation units of a variable annuity that reads value at $7.70. He wants to retire and begin receiving benefit payments each month for life. All of the following are used to determine the number of annuity units he would have, except his age, health, gender, choice of payout options. This is a tricky question, right? Because you have 3,200 accumulation units, which is not used to determine the annuity units. Sorry, this is my time when I get text, so that's what happens. In the morning is always my bad time. It's because I teach from 12 till like almost midnight, so the only time people can contact me is before noon. Not that you give a shit. Let's get on to this. So I'm a man. I'm a 67-year-old guy. I want to turn it into annuitization. What are they going to look at? What are they not going to look at? Well, they are going to look at my age. They're going to look at my gender to see how long I'm going to live and whether I choose straight life or joint life survivor, or period certain. But what doesn't matter is my health, because it's not my health. It's the overall health of the life expectancy of my class of people, right? So it's not about my health, because they don't look at me and give me a physical and say, oh, you're going to die in a year, we'll pay it. I always hope they would, because like I said, when I go to annuitize, remember, the shorter lifespan, the more money you get every month. So I would say go in there with a cigar and a beer so they think I'm going to die soon and then go vegan. I tell everyone that I would never go fucking vegan. I would rather die early than do that. Okay. So the answer has to be health, okay? Because they don't look at your specific health. Boom. A registered rep wants to place an ad in his local paper for the mutual funds that he sells. According to FINRA, approval for the advertiser must be given by the principal of the firm, the sponsor, the SEC, the chief. I'm going to say the principal. Okay, I don't think the CCO does that shit. The SEC definitely not doing it. And I'm not sure the sponsor has to do that because I'm going to say the principal of the firm. Let's go with that. Boom. And it has to be filed with FINRA at some point, either 10 days before or 10 days after. All of the following are true about the death benefit of a variable life insurance policy, except it is included in this to say to the deceased, it is not taxable to the beneficiary. It may be reduced to zero by poor performance. The beneficiary may elect to receive the death benefit as an annuity. Okay, A, B, and D should all be right. Remember, if you have a variable life, your cash value can absolutely drop to zero. But if you die, there's money. So you can't, no matter what, you have a minimum death benefit. So that's not going to be a thing. Each of the following members of an underwriting group have liability and a firm commitment, except co-managers. Yeah, they definitely do. Syndicate members, they do. And the manager does, I think. I mean, is it the manager of Walmart or the manager of the underwriting group? I'm going to go with manager of an underwriting group. So I'm going to say the selling group. Always remember, the selling group are the Goombas in Staten Island and Brooklyn and Long Island. I love those guys, but they're the ones, Staten Island and Dallin. That's Wolf of Wall Street. They don't have liability. They just make sales. It's got to be selling group. Got to be selling group. A breakpoint sale is defined. Breakpoints are good. Breakpoint sales are bad. A payment of compensation to a registered rep that is ceased to be employed by a firm. No, you can't do that unless you have a contract. The sale of an investment company shares in dollar amounts just below the point at which sales charges reduce on quantity discounts. Okay. The sale of an investment company, anticipation of an impending distribution. No, that would be selling a dividend. Oh, no, it'd be buying the shares would be selling a dividend. Selling is nothing. The sales amount in an IPO where institutional clients get a price discount. No, that's different. So let's go with that. Selling just below the breakpoint is a breakpoint sale. That's a violation. I'm always worried I'm going to do it quick and I miss the except. A client is reading a financial publication that contains an advertisement for a mutual fund under the emitting prospectus regulations of the SEC Act of 33. My intention was there. Under the emitting prospectus regulations of the Act of 33, which of the following statements is not true? So what's a lie? This advertisement may list past performance of the fund. This advertisement should disclose to investors that it is important to read the prospectus for investing. I like that. As a real statement. This advertisement may be accompanied by an application to receive a prospectus. The advertising may be accompanied by an application to invest. I'm leaning toward D, but I really got to think about it. D's got to be the answer because you can't sit there and go, oh, here's this. Here's an application to invest. You have to kind of like give them, it's almost like we have to give them the ability to process it before we ask them, here's the stuff. If you want to call us, we can hook you up. That's the way you have to give this up. So advertising is, hey, all the other things we can list the past performance under certain rules. We can disclose that you should read the prospectus before investing, and the advertisement may be accompanied by an application to receive a prospectus. All of those things are good because D is saying, hey, read the ad, invest. Where's the fucking prospectus? We got to give him the prospectus. There's got to be that answer. Okay. Under the code of procedure, the hearing panel cannot impose which of the following penalties? Fines, prison time, expulsion, suspension. They can't do fucking prison time. The courts can do prison time. We can't. Watch, I'll be wrong. Boom. While saving for her retirement, a variable annuity owner is investing $1,000 per month will buy. It should be a varying number of accumulation units because remember that it goes up and down. Since it's a variable, it's going to change in price over time. Actually, even if it's a fixed, it goes up. I mean, because it goes up at a certain rate. So if you're buying $1,000 a month, every month you're going to be buying when it's at a different price point. So you're going to get a varying number of accumulation units because your dollar cost averaging. If it's lower, you buy more. If it's higher, you buy less. We should know dollar cost averaging by now. Boom. Mutual funds generally update their registration statements. Update their registrations. I'm leaning toward annual, but it easily could be a 6 months. I got to think. So let me think about this. So registration statements would be every year because you're registering every year. Other things are, I think the, if I remember right, the balance sheet or something of that from a mutual fund is every 6 months. But I'm going to lean toward registration is 12 months. I do think the balance sheet is going to be every 6 months, but don't want to confuse you. Remember, we re-register, we're re-registering. So that's what that registration statement is. It's got to be every year. Okay, good. Okay. And I can make you do that. It's a big deal. A firm wants to place an ad regarding the yield on its tax-free money market offerings. A firm wants to place an ad regarding the yield on its tax-free money market offerings. Which of the following time frames is appropriate? Oof, okay. So money markets have to be short, right? It's not a year. I don't know this answer, but I'm going to try to work out of it, right? So it's not 1, 5, and 10 because it's fucking money markets. I don't think it's a year. I think 30 days might be too long. I'm going to lean toward 7 days. It easily could be 30, but we're going to give it a shot. Hope my score is going to drop. Okay, there we go. Because money markets are short term. If we're going to do the yield on a money market, it has to be really short term. I would do between A and B. I got lucky maybe a little bit, but there it is. Okay. What does it mean when a company's capital structure is highly leveraged? Leverage means you're borrowing money, right? The company owns a large number of risky stocks. No, that's just risky. The company has a large number of shareholders. No, that's just a lot of people buying it. Accredited investors own a large percent of the company shares. No. The company raised a large percent of its funds through bond. Obviously, that's the answer. Bond sales, because debt leverage means borrowing money. There we go. All the following statements are true of a 529 plan, except withdrawals that are used for educational purposes are not subject to federal taxation. What's not true? Well, that's a true statement. There are no income limits placed on contributors. That's true. Contribution allowance accounts are unlimited. Come back to that. A married couple may give a lump sum of 160 without incurring federal gift taxes. They won't do that number because it changes every year with the minimum. But I'm going to say that's true. So I'm going to say contributions are unlimited. They're very fucking high. Like each state has their own. Like I think New York's is in the 350 to 400 grand level that you can put that much money into a 529. So, but they're not unlimited. There is, remember, unlimited means there's no limit. Like a variable annuity has no limit. You can put $20 million in there if you want. It's got to be that. Okay. An investor has owned shares in a mutual fund for 8 months, receives a cash distribution. The distribution is from gains on the sale of securities held in the fund's portfolio for 18 months. Which of the following statements is true regarding the taxation? Remember something. Everything about a mutual fund is taxable. Literally. Buy and sell, distributions, everything. You don't defer taxes on shit. The only thing you get to do is if you sell your fund and buy a new one in the same fund, they won't charge you a sales charge. But that shit is possibly taxable. Okay. I've held the fund for 8 months. They do a cash distribution on gain. So that's a capital gain. Remember, you get what the mutual fund does. If they say it's income, it's income. If it's gains, it's capital gains, it's capital gains. A, no, that's not true. You're paying the taxes, not the fund. B, ordinary income tax rate. No, that would be for the dividends. The investor pays a capital gains rate. I like that. And then D, no, that's not true because you do pay taxes. Even though you don't liquidate the funds yet, you'll pay taxes on everything they fucking send out. So it's got to be C. And that's why ETFs and stocks are much more efficient for long term because you're not really distributing it as much. You're not paying as much taxes. I love it. Okay. Okay, good. An investor has just purchased a stock fund with a beta of 1.6. that means it's higher than the market, right? It's going to go 1.6 times whatever the market does. This stock fund will move 1.6. So if the market goes up 10, it'll go up 16. The market goes down 10, it'll go down 16. So it does better in a good market and in a good market and worse in a bad market. Okay. This numerical designation means that the fund has an expense ratio of 160 basis. No. Is more volatile. I like that. Is ranked in the top 16%. No. Is expected return a return 1.6 greater. Now, that's the thing. Natural people get tricked. It's not 1.6%. It's a multiplier. 1.6 times the market. So it's going to be more volatile. This is going to trick you. Do not let that trick you. Good. An RR has a potential customer who is interested in international investing and sends the person a prospectus for an international equity fund. Okay. He wants, okay, that's good. The customer then visits the RR's office to ask some questions about the types of risks that are associated with the fund in order to help the client understand the risks, which is the following actions may RR perform. I have to add one thing to this. If you see global fund, it means everything, including the US. If you see international, it means everything but the US. Okay. Highlight the relevant sections of the prospectus. Create a summary of the fund's risks and provide it to the client. Provide the client with a supplemental sales literature regarding the fund. Tell the client to ignore the prospectus and read the statement of additional information. That is just fucked up, right? Okay, so let's think about that. So I'm going to say, let's walk through this. So highlight the relevant. You can't touch the fucking prospectus like that. You can't create a summary. Okay, you can't do that. Other people can. Provide the client with a supplement. So right, so supplemental sales literature is written usually by whoever, and it's gonna be added on, and it's allowed. So I'm gonna say you don't ignore. So I'm gonna go with provide the client with supplemental sales literature regarding the fund. That even sounds better, right? That sounds like, oh, we have extra stuff for you that's been vetted out and approved and all that stuff. So we can send that to give you more information. Got to be the answer. Okay. You'll be given supplement and see, provided it's been properly approved and it's with the prospectus. Good. By the way, preceded by means given before. So as long as you give the prospectus at or before you give the supplemental, you're good to go. Which of the following are tax advantages that are offered by qualified retirement plans? Okay. Only tax-deferred growth. Only tax-deductible contributions. I like that. Qualified means tax-deductible. So tax-deductible contributions and tax-free growth? No. Tax-deductible contributions and tax-deferred growth, right? The only things that grow tax-free are like Roths, 529s, and Coverdales. Okay. Got to be that. All of the following are legitimate 12B1 expenses of a mutual fund, except printing, trailer, commissions, management fees, TVA costs. I got to think, remember, 12B1 is for advertising and marketing. So printing, yeah. The trailer commissions is what you pay. When you put somebody into a mutual fund, you may get paid for a couple of years after a piece of their 12B1 fees. That's totally fine. And then TV ad costs, yeah, because it's advertising. So it's got to be management fees. They already have that fee. That's a separate fee on top of it. Remember, mutual funds fee the hell out of you. It's got to be the answer. Which of the following options positions allow the investor to purchase an underlying security? Okay. So if you have the SIE already, this should be easy. Buy a call is a right to buy. Short a call, you must sell. Long put must sell. Short put must buy. So let's go with long call, baby. Long call. Okay. The following information would be permissible under MSRB rules pertaining to blind advertisements. The advertisement provides an 800 number as answered by representative of a dealer for the muni fund security. This is the other one where you can put stuff out and not name the firm, okay? The advertisement provides an 800 number through which orders to purchase a mutual fund security are executed. I don't like that one. The advertisement provides an 800 number through which a customer initiating the order can transfer to purchase a muni fund security. Again, I don't like that one either, right? And the advertisement provides an 800 number that is answered by representatives of the dealer for the muni fund who can provide additional information about securities. D, I love as a real answer, like that's allowed, okay? And I like A. Here's my deal on this. The whole point is if you do a blind advertising, you're basically just saying that you're going to, that you're looking for, the way to get people in, they can just, the blind advertising really is just you're giving out, as I said before, usually it's for recruiting. Here it's for getting you to say, oh, buy this fund or something. So the blind advertising, but the 800 number cannot be directly to someone who's going to execute a sale for you. These are people that are answering your questions for you, and then they can transfer you to someone. But the 800 number has to be for informational purposes only. So I got to think that B is not allowed. It's the only one I can think of. Okay. It's basically you can provide information about this stuff, but you can't execute the orders. That's not what it's for. Good. Which of the following statements is true of a level payment withdrawal plan? They're taking the same amount of money every time. It provides shareholders with the ability to withdraw set dollar amounts monthly or quarterly. It's also called a voluntarily level plan. It is similar to a periodic front-end contractual plan. It is prohibited under the Investment Company Act of 40 unless placed in an IRA. Level payment withdrawal plan, it means you're taking money out a set amount of dollar every month, every quarter. So that's what it got every quarter, every month, whatever it is, that's what it has to be. It's not, I've never heard of these other things. It's not similar to a front end, and it's not prohibited. So you can do it. So you can do a set dollar amount. You take out $50 a month or $100 a month or $1,000 a month or quarter every time. And that's what you're doing. That's what a level payment withdrawal plan. Then there's also a percentage where you can take out like 3% a month or 3% a quarter. That's different. Good. And if we're on a roll, an investment contract that offers life insurance benefits plus participation in a portfolio of securities is called, okay, life insurance, we get either fixed or variable, right? So if they let you invest in securities, it's got to be a fucking variable. Okay. So let's see, variable life insurance contract. I like that. Spread load contract. No. Insurance sector based index fund. Okay. So it's between A and D. So variable is a life insurance product, but it doesn't really give you, it doesn't give you the life insurance of if a person dies, you get the money. I could easily see them tricking me and doing that because it's near the end of the exam. I'm getting tired. But I got to think that if I'm going to go with the obvious answer, that it's a life insurance, because annuities, once you annuitize, you don't really get paid if the person dies. But I guess you do if it is, but it's not quite the same because you're only getting what they put in the growth. Life insurance, if you put in 80 grand over, 5 years and then you die, even if it's a $1 million plan, you're getting $1 million. That's life insurance. Annuity, you only get what the value of the shit is worth. So I got to go with that. Boom. See, I'm torn on this shit. Okay. An open-end investment company with a NAV of 2220 and a sales charge of 8%. Oh, my Lord. How do I get this? So I don't know how to do this. So, or do I? Now, a sales charge. So let me start over. So an open-end investment company with a NAV of 2220 and a sales charge of 8%. Remember, sales charges out of the POP, which they didn't give me, so they suck, would have an offer price of what amount? So what I have to do the damn math. First math problem the whole time. So I do 2220 divided by the opposite of the sales charge. What do I mean by that? 100% minus 8 or 100% minus 8%. That gives me 92%. So I'm going to do, that's because remember, you're trying to find out what the NAV is 92% of in this case, because the 8% is of the POP. So you're going to do 22 divided by 0.92. Let's hope I do it right, not be a total fucking fool. Okay. 22.20. Make sure you do it slowly because sometimes if you just put in 22, they'll put that answer there. So don't do that. 22.20. You can't see it because of the green screen. Divided by 0.92 should be 2413. Is that an answer? I love it. Do not do 8% of 2220. You have to do it this way. If they give you the sales charge percentage, you have to do NAV divided by 100 minus the sales charge. So the answer has to be that. Better be. If I'm wrong, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Okay. An investment company you are analyzing had an NAV of 16, and in January of this year, the NAV was 1750, so it went up. During this time, you notice that the ask price declined by more than $2 a share. The investment company must be, well, if the ask price declined and the NAV went up, watch, I could be wrong, but the only time that it's not that it's going to change is if it's a close-in, because a close-in, the offer price is based on supply and demand, not NAV plus a sales charge. So a closed-end fund is the only one that could have a POP or an offer price below the NAV. I'm trying to make sure that I didn't blow this because sometimes you read it and it's a lot and you get cocky. So I'm going to go with this and I could easily be wrong. Boom. Because closed-end fund means that the ask price can be lower than the NAV. So that could have happened here. It cannot happen in an open-end or any kind of mutual fund. Good. An investor might take advantage of a Section 1035 exchange. 1035 is moving insurance to insurance. That's not taxable. But remember, you can't do it on a period anything less than every 36 months. The new contract carries a new or longer surrender period. Okay. Now that wouldn't work because then it makes it harder. Remember, a surrender period is how long you can surrender it and pay fees. So the longer that is, the worse it is. The enhanced features do not apply to her. Why would you do that? The investment objectives have changed and she is unable to obtain the same benefits by switching to another sub-account in the same contract. That I like that one. The total cost of the exchange outweighs the benefits. That just makes no fucking sense, right? So the answer has to be C, because remember, a longer surrender period is bad. Okay. The enhanced features don't apply to her, so that doesn't help. And then if basically in the investment objectives have changed and she can't obtain new benefits with the same contract, you let her move out. That's definitely a reason. Okay. It's got to be that. And remember, 1035 exchange is insurance to insurance, like annuity to annuity, insurance to insurance. And you're not supposed to do it in a period any less than every 36 months because it's not free. So you got to offset the costs. A mutual fund statement of additional information contains only information that is not considered material, is sent to investors after initial purchase, must be sent by the fund to any interested party requested. I like that. It is filed with the SEC as part of the registration statement, but is not available to the general public. I do not like that one at all. Okay. So let's think about this. Contains only information. No, that's not true because you want to give material shit out. Sent to investors after they buy it. No. So here's the deal. It's not D. So it's got to be C. Must be sent by the fund to any interest. So if you ask for a statement, if you ask for information, they're going to send it to you. You have to be sent. They can send it to anyone they want, but if you ask for it, they got to send it. You asked for it, we got it. Toyota, right? Okay. Last one. The primary concern for investors who use a buy and hold strategy to maintain their portfolios. I always screw this one up, right? So buy and hold means you buy and then you don't fucking change. You let it ride, which you should do. Like even in a down market, if you're thinking long-term, like if you're 25, 35, even maybe the old 40s, this downturn right now we're going through at the end of 2022 is nothing. I mean, it sucks, but if you ride it out, you should be fine. Okay. It's not interest rate risk. It's not reinvestment risk. Opportunity costs. See, that's the one I love, but it's probably going to be allocation of assets because once you set up the allocation, you're not changing it. That's what buy and hold means you're holding it for a very long time. So I got to think that that's the risk. It's not a risk, it's a concern, right? Because if you set them up wrong, maybe you're wrong. And that's the idea. But I lean to an opportunity risk, but I know how they ask questions and stuff like that. And because opportunity is like, oh, you put it in one thing and you missed out on others. But if you do it right, asset allocation, it shouldn't matter. You should be diversified enough that it shouldn't be a problem. Boom. Okay. What'd I get on this puppy? 98. That's awesome. I got a 98% on that. I like it. I'm okay with that. We went over the wrong one. Let's find it. Right. This is the one I guess I'm going to have to say, sometimes I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm wrong a lot. Yes, my family, but let's go with it. Okay. Sounds good. So now, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I didn't speak too fast. I would give you advice on pausing and watching at 3/4 speed, but that doesn't really help you right now because you already took the fucking test. So listen, thanks a lot for joining in. Remember, I do a live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Come on if you have questions. If you don't have questions, you can still come on, but it's not as valuable. I try to make people laugh. It doesn't always work. Don't forget, here's my company, Capital Advantage Tutoring Services. We got Zoom groups going. We got the Facebook group. Remember, join the Facebook group. There's a FINRA exam one where everyone talks to each other. They create Zoom groups all the time. I love it. Check me out. Wash your hands. And if you like this stuff, please like, subscribe, and share. Awesome.